Hey guys, in today's video, we're going to be seeing if the Straw Hats were at Marineford, could they win the war? We obviously know that the pre-time skip Straw Hats wouldn't make that much of a difference in Marineford, but what if Luffy as a Yonko went against the Marines instead of Whitebeard in Marineford? Would they be able to save Ace and defeat the Marines, or would he still lose like sick old Whitebeard? Now for this scenario, we're going to have Elbaf Luffy going up against the Marines. He will also have all of his crew members with them and his backup allies, the Grand Fleet. Now with the stage set, let's find out how strong each side is. The Straw Hats have become dozens of times stronger than their pre-time skip selves, 100 times stronger to be specific. And the Monster Trio, which are the strongest members out of the crew, should have multi-continental levels of AP, with Luffy being moon level plus in AP. Zoro cutting Pika all the way back in Dressrosa was calculated at 17.2 teratons of TNT or country level, but he scales way higher than that because he cut Kaido several times and defeated King, while Sanji has continental AP due to him defeating Queen and holding back King and Queen at the same time. And Luffy defeating Kaido and Wano in his Bajran gun was calculated at 13.8 exatons of TNT, which is multi-continental, but he scales much higher due to him being a Yonko, and with Yonkos like Whitebeard affecting the entire planet with his earthquakes and tsunamis, he should be in that range of power. The Monster Trio speed is easily faster than light plus to massively faster than light. Zoro, Sanji, and Luffy has been shown to react, dodge, and even block light speed attacks. Luffy in the beginning of the time skip dodged Pacifista light beams and called them slow. Zoro dodged Kuma's light beams and Pog Cannon's pre-time skip, and Sanji kicked away Kizaru's light beams multiple times, which even surprised Kizaru himself. Plus, characters like Sentomaru is blocking Kizaru's light mirror attacks, and Luffy is legit slamming both Kizaru and Saint Saturn, turning them into pizzas on Egghead Island. Next is Jinbei, who is the 4th strongest member of the crew, and he is country level in terms of AP. He defeated Who's Who is a top-ranking Tobiropo, and he was also previously a warlord of the sea. And in terms of speed, he should also be faster than light plus due to him matching post-time skip gear 2nd Luffy in Fishman Island. The rest of the crew ranges from city level to island level in AP, and in terms of speed are sub-realistic to light speed. Crew members like Frankie, Nami, and Robin have taken down Tobiropo members, and Nami now has Zeus, who was previously Big Mom's homie. Zeus casually created the storm around Whole Cake Island, calculated at 198 megatons of TNT or mountain level, and Nami now has full access to Zeus as her weapon. Frankie also survived this explosion that destroyed a mountain pre-time skip and is way stronger post-time skip. He also has his Frankie Shogun, which can shoot missiles and fire out powerful blasts of wind. And for speed, even the weakest Straw Hat members like Usopp and Nami have been shown to dodge and block lightning all the way back in Skypiea. And in the post-time skip, Chopper is somewhat holding Queen back and dodging his light laser. It's actually crazy how fast the Straw Hats actually are. Now for the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, Don Chinjao, Sai, Elizabello, and Bartolomeo should have large country levels to continental levels of AP. Don Chinjao and Sai were stated that they could split an ice continent, and Elizabello's King Punch is stated that it has the potential to knock out an Emperor of the Sea if it landed a direct hit on their face. Granted, we do have to take this statement with a grain of salt since it actually hasn't happened before, so it's just whatever. And for Bartolomeo, he could tank the King Punch due to his barrier ability and knock out Elizabello afterwards. Now for the other Grand Fleet members, they range from mountain level to island level in terms of AP, and in terms of speed, the Grand Fleet members range from sub-realistic for the slower members to faster than light plus with members like Cavendish and Don Chinjao. Now that's all for the Straw Hat side of things. Let's see how strong the Marines are. In the Marineford War, the Marines had 3 major factions. They had the Warlords, the Admirals, and the Vice Admirals. Obviously, a lot of things happened in the story after the war, like the Warlords disbanding and certain admirals leaving and joining the Marines. But for the scenario, we are going to keep the same warlords they had at Marineford, but we are also going to change Admiral Aokiji with Green Bull and move Akainu to Fleet Admiral and replace his spot with Admiral Fujitora. Also, we are going to scale the characters in their post-time skip form This just makes everything much easier to understand. Okay, now let's start with the Vice Admirals first, since they are by far the weakest group out of the bunch. The most notable Vice Admirals are Vice Admiral Momonga and Vice Admiral Smoker. I'm not going to include Vice Admiral Garp and Tusuru in the Vice Admiral category since they are much stronger than your average Vice Admiral. In terms of power, the average Vice Admiral is pretty weak. They are town level to city level in AP, and in terms of speed, they are massively hypersonic. All Vice Admirals are confirmed to have both basic observation haki and basic armament haki. And for the strongest Vice Admirals like Smoker, they have mountain level to large mountain levels of AP, and in terms of speed, they are in the sub-realistic ranges of speed. Smoker is comparable to Virgo, who could fight and even fracture post-time skip Sanji's leg, and Smoker in the pre-time skip could easily manhandle Luffy all throughout the first half of the story. This is the same Luffy who could tank a city level attack from Moria and disperse Eno's Raigo, which was calculated at 32 megatons of TNT, or city level. Next are the Warlords, and they also range in terms of power and speed. The weakest out of the bunch is Gecko Moria, and he has city levels of AP. And for speed, Gecko Moria is in the sub-realistic ranges of speed. He could easily react to and outspeed base Luffy, and he could block attacks and land hits on Gear 2nd Luffy. While Gecko Moria was the weakest warlord, the average warlord like Doflamingo, Kuma, Boa Hancock, and Jinbei post-time skip have island level to country levels of AP. Doflamingo could cut meteors apart, and his birdcage could rip an entire country apart. In terms of speed, Doflamingo is faster than light plus, if not faster. He could react to point-blank meteors and cut them before they even touch him. And he could outspeed Gear 2nd Luffy, which could dodge and call light beam slow. Next is Kuma, and Kuma punched Saint Saturn so hard it leveled several buildings, and his Urza's shock created shockwaves that could cover an entire island. In terms of speed, Kuma is also light speed plus, and it is stated that he could repel air at the speed of light, and he could shoot light laser beams from his mouth. Plus, he could repel himself with his own power, allowing him to travel from the Grand Line to Egghead Island in less than a day. After Kuma comes Boa Hancock, and her power lets her bypass her enemy's durability, and she turned half of Blackbeard's crew members into stone. And in terms of speed, she also should be faster than light. She could dodge and react to light laser beams, and she could basically speed blitz half of Blackbeard's crew without them even really noticing. Now, the strongest warlord by far is Mihawk. However, his full power isn't revealed in the story, and all of his feats come from his pre-time skip self. But from what we've seen so far, and what is implied in the story, he should have multi-continental plus levels of AP, if not a bit higher, and should be in the faster than light plus ranges of speed. Anything Zoro has done in the story, Mihawk should do it better. Zoro's end goal is to be stronger than Mihawk, so Zoro cutting and lifting Pika's stone body back in Dressrosa, which was calculated at 17.2 teratons of TNT, or country level, Mihawk should be able to do the exact same thing, if not better. Same thing with Zoro cutting and leaving a scar on Kaido. Mihawk should also be able to leave a scar, if not more. The same thing applies for speed. Zoro dodging Kuma's light beams and keeping up with King should be a feat Mihawk should be able to replicate. Okay, now for the strongest force the Marines have to offer, the Admirals. The Admirals should all have multi-continental plus levels of AP, if not a bit higher, with the Fleet Admiral having moon levels of AP since he is stronger than the rest. Admirals like Kuzan froze over an entire sea casually, while Admirals like Fujitora is casually sending down meteors that range from country level to continental levels of destructive force. Also, the Fleet Admiral Akaino is permanently changing the landscape and climate of an island in his battle with Kuzan. The Admirals are relative to each other in terms of speed, and with Kizaru having a light devil fruit and being able to travel at the speed of light, they all should be at bare minimum light speed. But as we've seen in Egghead Island, he could accelerate much faster than the speed of light. Oh, I also forgot the Marines have the pacifistas on their side. The pacifistas were so strong, it took the whole pre-time skip Straw Hat crew using their most strongest moves just to take down one of them. And the Marines had a whole army of them during the war. And since we've seen the newer models in Egghead Island, the Marines now have access to them. Each pacifista should be at least city level in AP and should be able to move at sub-realistic speeds. And they could spam light beams everywhere. Now, with everyone scaling out of the way, I think there's a clear winner to this war, and it's the Marines. The Marines just have too many powerhouses available to them and have a much bigger army. The Straw Hats only have 5,640 members in their grand fleet, and even if we include the Fishman Pirates and allied nations like Alabasta, Wano, and Elbaf, it still wouldn't be enough to take on the Marines. A good example would be Wano. The Straw Hats were outnumbered and honestly outpowered. If it wasn't for Tama's convenient devil fruit, the Straw Hats would have a much harder time fighting the Beast Pirates. And also, Luffy literally died to Kaido and lost multiple times beforehand. Someone like Akainu wouldn't give Luffy the time and day to regain his strength and would kill him on the spot. Also, I don't think Zoro and Sanji are on the level of an admiral. Fujitora vs Zoro and Kizaru vs Sanji is a close fight, but I have the admirals winning in both of their fights. They just have too much power and haven't even shown their full potential. I haven't even mentioned Garp and Sengoku. Garp was strong enough to do so much damage to the Blackbeard Pirates all by himself, and even characters like Kobe got a huge power up which allows him to destroy a mountain-sized arm with just one punch. The Marines are also aligned with the world government, and they also have their own powerhouses like the Holy Knights, the Seraphims, and the Goroseis if the situation gets dire enough. Any way I look at it, I just don't see the Straw Hats beating the Marines, and just like Whitebeard, Luffy would probably lose and probably die alongside Ace. Now, this doesn't mean Luffy at the end of the series couldn't beat the Marines, I just mean current Luffy and Elbaf wouldn't be able to beat the Marines. If we see some more improvements from Luffy, then I definitely could see him defeating the Marines and even the world government. But that's all for this video, guys. If you guys like this video, like and subscribe, and let me know your opinions in the comment sections below, and I'm out of here. Peace.